What is up, guys? This is going to be a commentated match replay of some post-Burst of Destiny testing. This is going to involve me playing the Xiangjian Tenyi deck against Halfmas, a friend of mine, playing Evil Twins, which got some pretty cool cards. They're getting some support in Dawn of Majesty in a few weeks, and then they're going to get a pretty strong Link 4 in Burst of Destiny. So yeah, I mean, not much to say. Let's just go into it. This is testing, by the way, so there's going to be some, this is not going to be perfect gameplay. We're both trying to learn the decks, and so there's going to be mistakes from both sides. We're going to have takebacks, and don't worry too much about it. It's more to showcase, really, the potential of not only my deck, but both decks, and to kind of see the cards more practically in action instead of just, you know, in like a solitaire 5-card combo hand. Which I think is very valuable to have like real life experience playing the deck in real game states. So Halfmas is going to win the die roll. He opens a pretty typical twin hand of 2 Desires, 2 hand traps, and a starter. So if you don't know what this deck does, they have a couple 1-card starters which get to their Link 2s, and their Link 2s, they have ki-sikil and lil-la. They kind of revive the other type of monster. And the idea is to Link climb up to their Link 4 now that they got in Burst of Destiny, which is a very strong card, which we can cover in a bit. So, pretty standard twin hand. And then my hand is Vessel, Pot of Desires, Ashuna, Adhara, and Dragon Sword. So, this is also a fairly strong hand. Unfortunately, no hand trap. One flaw of the twin deck is that if you can hand trap the starter and they don't have the extender, it can be very powerful at stopping their turn. But unfortunately, no hand trap here. And also, during testing, I think a very important mentality to have is you need to remember which cards you're considering swapping out for other cards. So, as an example, I opened 3 Tenyi cards in this hand. If I was playing Pure, these would probably all be hand traps and staple cards like Solemn Strike or maybe Pot of Prosperity. And so I would need to consider, you know, if I was playing Pure, would 2 hand traps have been better here? And then maybe later in the duel, you just keep that in the back of your head. If you're on the fence about a card, like for example, Ecclesia in this build, you can think, you know, would Ecclesia or Hand Trap have been have been more useful in this game state? And use that to kind of evaluate how good you think certain cards are. So I think that's a great mentality to have when you test. And one thing I will say is that if I had opened 3 Hand Traps instead of 3 Tenyis in this duel, it would have been a lot more boring. So I'm happy to be showing this to you. Let's just go ahead and start. Halfmas is going to start by doing some twin stuff. I'm not going to go too in-depth into these effects because these cards have also been out for a while. So going to go into the Link ki-sikil, revive lil-la Treat, and then going to go into Link lil-la, revive Link ki-sikil, and that's going to get him a draw. He's going to draw into Secret Password, which is their Spell Trap Searcher. And then the new card they're getting in Dawn of Majesty is Live Twin Trouble Sun. This is basically the same thing as Tenki for this deck. It's a really great benefit for them because now Secret Password can basically search any monster in the deck. So this is something that they've been wanting for a long time. And he's going to go ahead and just do that to get another monster in the hand. So he's going to grab ki-sikil Frost, which gets him a draw in the graveyard. Although I believe during this duel, he actually forgets this effect. He's going to use Desires here, banishing 10. And then I believe he draws into Ash and another copy of Live Twin lil-la, so that's decent. And I think he tries to get a little too fancy here, and he tries to get the Frost in Graveyard while comboing, and then he realizes it doesn't work because he's already used his revives. So we go back, and he just decides to make the Link 4 and pass. So the Link 4, Evil Twin Trouble Sunny, this is a great card that Evil Twins are getting Burst of Destiny. It has 3,300 attack, so a problem with the deck before was that they had trouble kind of beating over stuff. And now they have this gigantic Link 4 that can just kill tons of things. It's got a quick effect to revive both ki-sikil and lil-la monsters from the grave, so you can bring back both Links and then trigger both their effects at the same time. Lil-la is a pop, and ki-sikil is a draw, so this deck can start to snowball the advantage very quickly. And then finally, in the graveyard, it is a non-targeting removal by banishing itself, and you have to send an Evil Twin monster to the grave as well. But overall, this card has fantastic effects, great stats. This is a great boost for the deck. And this is pretty much what Twin tries to do now, post-Burst of Destiny, is the end on Trouble Sunny, and then a bunch of generics. So there's 3 hand traps here that they have to play through. For my turn, I'm going to draw a Taya, so not terrible, not a 6-card hand trap. And now I'm trying to think about how to break through this board. So I start with Adhara. I should have probably started with the Rhoda to potentially dissuade him from hashing it out of fear of Gamma or something, but slight misplay at the time. I'm going to activate the Rota here, and I'm going to add Longyuan. So first of all, if you notice some life point stuff going on, it's because Trouble Sun has a life point burn effect, and I forget it like 20 times this match, so anytime you see the life points go up and down, it's because we forgot about Trouble Sun. We probably didn't do it right, and it didn't really have a huge impact on the game overall. I decided to search Longyuan here because I want to experiment with using Longyuan before I commit a starter as kind of a board breaker. And it goes pretty well in this match, and I can showcase that here. So my idea is now I'm going to use Longyuan, pitching my Ashuna from hand, and summoning itself and a token. And if you remember from the previous combo video that I uploaded yesterday, Longyuan plus a level 1 threatens out Yazi. And then Yazi is removal, and then Yazi will float into a starter. And then additionally, because I have this token, my Ashuna in the grave is live, which means I can access Vishuddha through my Ashuna. And now he has to decide what card to get rid of, because if he gets rid of the token, then I can still go into Yazi. If he gets rid of the Longyuan, I can still go into my Tenyi plays. So here he chooses to, I believe, use Trouble Sun to bring back both links, and then he's going to get a pop and a draw, and he opts to destroy the Longyuan here, and draws into Live Twin home. So now my Tenyis are live, and I'm a little afraid of Ash still, so I start with the Vessel to see if I can bait out any possible Ash, and he decides to hold it here, which I think is smart because he knows I already have access to Ashuna, and so he's not really afraid of dumping another Ashuna here, so he's just going to hold Ash for the Ashuna effect, which I think is pretty smart. I really want this Ashuna to resolve because if I can summon a level 7, then I can go into Bashya, and that's pretty good for me. So I was thinking about maybe using Desires first. At the time, I think I was scared of banishing all of my copies of Vishuddha. In retrospect, I should have probably sent an Adhara to grave and kept 2 Vishuddha in deck, and then tried to use Desires beforehand to really kind of apply as much pressure on this Ash as possible. Not that I knew he had Ash at the time, but, trying to play around stuff like that. I use Ashuna, it does get Ash kind of predictably, and I will play Desires after that, banishing 10. This is going to go off without a hitch. I draw a Taya and a Forbidden Chalice, and then I do end up banishing my second Vishuddha. The banish is not awful, but I do banish 2 Moye, and this is going to come up in a bit later in this duel. The Chalice in the hand is a neat little tech card that I'm trying out. I've just been a fan of this card. I've been on Chalice Gang for a couple of years. I think it's really versatile, and wanted to try it out in this match. So now my options are a little interesting. I could theoretically go into like a Monk and then summon Ashuna. I choose not to. I go ahead and just normal summon the Taya, and I use the effect. So remember from the combo video that I have this leftover token from the Longyuan, and so this Veiler is not really going to do anything against Taya. So I use the effect here, I banish my, do a lot of looking, and then I think I decide to banish Longyuan here, because I want to add Longyuan back with my Adhara that's eventually going to hit Grave. And of course he doesn't Veiler because, what's the point, I already have a token. I had 2 options. The first was banishing this Longyuan and just going into a level 8 play, and the second would have been to banish the Rota and to go into Yazi, using a level 3 monster and a token. So if I had gone for Yazi, what that would do specifically is attempt to play around a card like Effect Veiler, because the Yazi is untargetable, and in this specific instance, it actually matters that the Yazi is untargetable, because the starters are not really going to be Veilered due to how many tokens I have on the board. So if I got into Yazi, I would have popped a card, gone to Moye, and then kept going. And the Moye also can't really be Veilered because I would still have the extra token on the board. So that was something I was considering. I ended up deciding to go for level 8. Specifically, I go for a Basha here. The reason I go for this is because if he doesn't have the Veiler, I can spin back both of his links, which is really good value for me because it messes with his grave setup. And then I can summon a Light Xiaofeng using the Bashka, and that's great in this matchup because I was very concerned about this Trouble Sunny in the grave. Trouble Sunny is a non-targeting non-targeting send to grave, and it's a grave effect. Since Trouble Sunny is light, however, if I summon a Light Xiaofeng, this is turned off. So I really wanted to try to value that card in this specific game state. It turns out he does have the Veiler, so I try to spin. He ends up Veilering it. I do get a dump with Taya. I think I forget, and then we catch it, and so I dump a Moye, This is actually a mistake, or I believe it's a mistake. The idea was I wanted this engrave in case I could revive it later off of Bashia. But what ends up happening is that I end up with no copies of Moye left in deck, because at the time I don't think I realized I had 2 banished Moyes. So I should have kept this Moye in deck probably and just sent another Tenyi card, or just not sent anything at all, or maybe even have sent the Sudden Shift. So I go into Light Xiaofeng. He chooses not to nib before this, which is arguably a mistake, but the Light Xiaofeng here is going to get summoned. And then I have no other real play. I'm going to add back a follow-up card with Adhara, because this game is going to go a couple turns. And I decide to start clearing monsters. I go into battle phase. This is a mistake. I go back to main. I want to Vishuda back his lil-la first, because I don't want him reviving anything. Although these do only activate during the main phase, but regardless, it was correct to remove this lil-la first, so that he can't have the opportunity to use this. I bounce the lil-la, and now that the ki-sikil is on the field, this is light, so this can't activate. I destroy it with the Xiaofeng. I do get the nice little added bonus of being able to float with this Xiaofeng. Because it is sort of light, I can get a light worm from deck, so I just grab an Ashuna for free. There's nothing else for me to do this turn, so I pass on this Chalice. I would have liked to really have a Sudden Shift here. I think a Sudden Shift would have been fantastic for me, because it would have protected the Xiaofeng from being run over by battle by anything that he may have had. Unfortunately, I do only end up on this kind of mediocre setup through his board. So that was through the Link 4 and 2 hand traps, and then this is turning off the nib for now. So for his turn, for his turn he's going to draw another Veiler, then summon a starter, and he's going to go do more twin things. I was considering chalicing this, but I know that he has ki-sikil Frost, and so there'd be kind of no point doing so. So just going to fast forward through the twin combo. He actually goes for Phoenix first, that's right. So if he goes for a Link Twin here, then he walks into whatever this is. So he just Phoenixes the back row. There's nothing I can really do about that. And then he's going to extend with 2 twins directly into the Link 4, which is definitely a way to get over this Xiaofeng. So what I was saying before about Twin having trouble beating over monsters, now this card has really solved some of those problems. We do some more Trouble Sun burn damage that we missed, and then beats over the Xiaofeng with the Trouble Sun. I get to float now, so this adds a tuner when it dies. I use the opportunity to add Ecclesia here. This is going to be a free extender for the next turn, and this is, I think, one of the coolest interactions in the deck. So I get to just grab this, and he's going to use Trouble Sun in the battle phase to tag out, because this card is really solid. I think he forgets that I had actually bounced his lil-la Link with my Vishuda, and so he has nothing else to float into. So he only gets the ki-sikil here and no pop. He's going to clear my token, and then in the main phase he's going to bring back a lil-la, and then cycle through another set of links, and he's going to get a draw off ki-sikil, and then use this to end on the Link 4 again. So this is his 3rd copy of Trouble Sunny. He draws the level 8, which is a Garnet you play for the Trouble Sunny effect, because this has to send an Evil Twin monster from hand deck or field to grave. So drawing this is not good for him at all. But he does manage to clear the Xiaofeng and get himself back in the game. So he passes on this. I draw a Desires Return. I decide to start with Tenyi stuff. It should be noted that I only have 2 Vishuda, so one is banished face down and one is banished face up right now. I go for Ashuna here, and he allows it. And at this point, I definitely have options. Trouble Sunny is annoying because the tag out is a quick effect, and so this dodges all kinds of targeted removal. So if I make another Basha here, Trouble Sunny doesn't really do anything. Or rather, the Basha doesn't do anything because he can just chain the Trouble Sunny, and then he gets to revive 2 links and then destroy my Basha, and that's not really what I want. The play I decide to go for, which may or may not have been correct in retrospect, is that I go for Chi-Xiao here. So after some more life point damage that we forget, I go straight into Chi-Xiao. I opt not to search, and my train of thought is I'm going to use a Vishuda later in this turn to force out this Trouble Sunny, and then I'll have the Chi-Xiao to negate the lil-la that he brings back. So now he can no longer pop my crucial cards. And that was my train of thought. I could have potentially gone for Draco Berserker instead, but I wanted to be able to stop the lil-la specifically from getting rid of one of my play starters. So I go at Hara, I add back Vishuda. I could banish Vishuda from hand right now to bounce this back to force this tag out rather. But I get a little ahead of myself, and I want to put it in grave to be efficient with my resources, and I summon the Xiangjian. So here, if I'm able to summon my level 10 Chungying, and then use my Vishuda to remove or force out this Trouble Sunny, the banishing of the Vishuda will trigger the Chungying, and I can start plowing through his board and basically kill him this turn, because I'm going to have a gigantic Chungying. So I do go for that. He takes 1200. And then after I use the Vishuda, what ends up happening is I kind of forget that he could have Nibiru, because I didn't get Nibiru on turn 1. I kind of roll that out as a possibility in my head. And he hits me with an extremely devastating Nibiru here. So he's going to go Chainlink 1 Trouble Sunny, or Vishuda Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2 Trouble Sunny to tag out, and then Chainlink 3 Nibiru. And this is going to be really devastating, because this is getting rid of all of my guys. I didn't get my search off Chixiao because I wanted to hold it. And this is going to eliminate my level 10 from the game as well. So this is huge. This is probably the biggest momentum swing in this game. So I get a gigantic token, and then because of the way he did the chain link, he still gets to summon back his twins. So he's going to get another draw here, and he's going to pop my token, and he's going to draw into impermanence. So after all that, this is a little problematic for me. I'm still in this game, but there are some things that make it a little awkward, which we're going to see shortly. My Ecclesia is live now because my field was cleared, and so I can special summon this. But because I had sent the Moye to grave with Taya, which I think was probably one of my biggest mistakes this match, this cannot tag out into a Moye. My only other starter left in deck is another Taya. So there's kind of no point in me getting it now when I can just... I haven't normal summoned, by the way, so I want to normal summon this Taya, and there's really no point getting the other one from the deck. So I normal summon the Taya here. I banish another Taya, and then I summon a token. And, am I out of Bashas at this point? Let me just double check that. No, I have one more left, and I could have gone for it. I decided to go for Chixiao first, I think. A lot of thinking here. This is a complicated game state. More Trouble Sun burn damage. No, that's right. I go for Basha here, because I want to clear his links, and I have a play in mind. So this spins back both links, and then I dump a sudden shift off Taya. I don't really want to be top decking this anymore. And the extra option to have another token if I get a banishing card on the field is nice. And here I decide to set the desires and then use Basha to pop the desires, bring back Moye. I don't have a card to reveal, but since Ecclesia is a tuner, I can still synchro with this Moye, get a draw, and a search. And that's what I choose to do here. So I go Chixiao, Moye, the bread and butter play, again coming up in this specific scenario. I draw another Ecclesia, so this will get me my last Taya on the next turn if the game goes that long. And then with Chixiao, I get sudden shift. So during this game, I was actually testing 0 copies of the revive spell. It was something I noticed in the OCG, and something I wanted to try out to kind of trim as much fat as possible. But it punishes me in this specific game because I don't have a way to actually clear this Nibiru. If I had the revive spell in deck, Spiritual Peak, I could have revived this Chungying, which would have come out with an enormous amount of attack, and it would have, I think, potentially even been game into this, or would have been close to it. So that's definitely something that I think I was punished by in this game, is not playing the Reborn spell. And that's really the purpose of testing, you know, you test to see when certain cards come up, and whether you miss them when you cut them. So I am forced to end on Basha plus Chixiao plus a sudden shift here. With follow-up, and he draws a secret password, which is a fantastic top deck for him. It gets him back into the game because now he has engine again. So he instantly goes into battle phase here, and more life point stuff. So this is a little awkward because now I am going to lose out on at least one disruption. So this basically forces the Chixiao, or I can just not use it at all. I choose to use it here because I want to banish my sudden shift engrave to get another body on field, because, you know, the extra token could be the difference between winning and losing. So I do this because I know that this is going to get outed anyway. I may as well get what value out of it I can. He changes his mind. He actually decides to kill the Basha. So we're gonna put the Chixiao back on field, and he kills the Basha instead. So I take some damage, and then he's going to use Trouble Sunny in main phase 2. This is going to get rid of my sudden shift. And I could have chained sudden shift and maybe destroyed his cards. I didn't think there was much point, honestly, because I didn't want to... I wanted him to, like, be forced to clear as much of my cards as possible, and I didn't want to be clearing my own worms because it could be crucial. His Nib and his Trouble Sun are annoying, but they're not the thing that's going to win the game for him. So his top deck is Secret Password. It gets him back into the game. So he draws this lil-la. That was the other thing, actually. I didn't want a sudden shift because it would have allowed him to just special summon a monster off this lil-la for free. Which I think is an illegal play that we just miss. So this is actually on me. I didn't actually catch this during the initial game, but this is something that we both kind of completely forgot about. He summons a ki-sikil here. Overall, it doesn't really matter because he still can just link the lil-la and the Nibiru into a ki-sikil. So yeah, sometimes, you don't play perfectly. Not really a big deal. He's going to go lil-la. Revive's the wrong thing. We're in voice chat, so we're kind of not that important. I think there's some more waffling here. You can ignore all of this. The point being is he's going to end on his Link 2s. He's going to be able to clear my Chi-Xiao with the Link lil-la. And it's going to go back to me with very little follow-up. So he's going to go ki-sikil lil-la, pop the Chi-Xiao, and then end on Link ki-sikil. Sets the Imperm and passes. And then my draw is a very unhelpful Ash. This would have been great to stop the Secret Password last turn, but that's how the game is sometimes. My only play is going Ecclesia. I try to go Battle Phase to kill the ki-sikil, which forces him to use the effect. He revives the lil-la and then tries to destroy something. There's no point targeting the Ecclesia because it can just tag out, so he pops the token. I tag out anyway. I go into Taya. And I think here I still have a little bit of stuff I can do. I banish the sudden shift, which means that he can't actually imperm the Taya because the sudden shift is going to give me a token anyway. And I go into pretty much the only card that gets rid of both twins at the same time. I've already gone through 2 Basha, so I can't go into a third. And the only card in my extra deck that outs both of these is Draco Berserker of the Tenyi. This card can attack twice onto monsters, and so if I can kill both of these and get an attack boost, and he has no more engine, then I'm actually back in the game. But he does have impermanence here, and that's going to basically seal the deal. So he flips Imperm, and at this point I know he's just going to revive this next turn and destroy the Draco Berserker, and then I'm out of the game. So I forfeit game 1, and that's it. So yeah, very, very intense back and forth game 1. A lot of small decisions that I think affected that game. I think the biggest one for me was that one turn with the Nibiru, where I kind of disregard the fact that he could have it because of the way that turn 1 happened, and then I get punished by it super hard and lose all my resources. And then the fact on top of that I didn't play the Reborn for this game, and that prevented me from making a comeback with the level 10. So I think a bunch of small things that ended up being like a really cool showcase of both decks regardless. So definitely one of the reasons I picked this replay. Before we go into game 2, I'm looking at my recording and this was already like 23 minutes of gameplay. So take a breather here. I wanted to thank everyone who's been supporting in the comments, leaving comments, and just your feedback is appreciated. I have a lot of fun making these videos, and so I hope you have a lot of fun watching them. I do pick these replays as more of a showcase of what the decks can do, and not all games are going to look like that game 1, where you're kind of going back and forth and really making a lot of small decisions that matter. A lot of them are going to be more straightforward, like this one that I'm about to show. This game 2 is very, very scrappy compared to the first one, which was a lot more explosive from both sides. So I open a pure Tenyi hand, or a pure Xiangjian hand with no Tenyis in this game, and my opponent opens 2 ki-sikil and then 3 hand traps. So fairly reclined compared to the first game. And this hand in particular, if this Desires doesn't resolve, I have no play. So I am praying to God that he does not have an Ash Blossom for this. He does not, so I get to draw 2 cards. I draw a Dragon Sword and Desires, which is enough to get me in the game. And the banishes are not too bad either. I lose 2 sudden shifts, but I have a 3rd, so not the biggest deal. And I go Moya here. The Moya will get impermed, and there is not really a way for this hand to play around imperm. So some hands are just going to be like that, especially in pure, where you don't have as many extenders. Some hands are just going to lose to 1 hand trap. So I go Dragon Sword for Taya for guaranteed follow for the next turn, because this can just banish the Dragon Sword. And then I have 3 negates. So Twin will have to open good enough to play through 3 negates. He draws a lil-la for turn, so really not what you want to see as a Twin player. You want to see more extenders, and he is only drawing his monsters. He's going to go ki-sikil, I'm going to Chalice, and that's going to end his turn. So really very much the opposite of game 1 in terms of what we've seen here. I draw a shooter for turn. I choose to go ahead and commit with the Taya. One play that I overlooked at the time was I could have actually just activated my Imperm preemptively on his ki-sikil, and it would have shut off whatever card he set in his column, which is also kind of telegraphing is his own Imperm, because he put it in the same column as mine. So if I had done that in main phase 1, or before main phase 1 even, I would have shut off his Imperm, and then I could have just summoned Taya, and then went into like a Basha line to clear his board. So I didn't consider that at the time. In retrospect, it may have been the move, but it also may have played harder into like an effect Veiler, so it would have led me to waste my Imperm on basically nothing, and then his Veiler would have stopped my turn anyway, so hard to say whether that's the right call or not. I'm going to try to use Taya. He's going to flip Imperm. I'm okay with this. And I'm just going to poke with my level 4s, so really a very laid back game compared to the first one. I can make a rank 4, but I don't play them in this build, because I think only Pure should be playing cards like Baguska. I just pass on my level 4s. He draws Home, so this is an extender, and he is going to try to commit now. He's going to go another starter. I'm going to Imperm this, and then he's going to activate Home. Summoning ki-sikil Frost. Goes to the Link, and then I'm going to effect value the Link. And yeah, 2 is enough to just stop him. He has a Gamma in hand, which is dead. Play goes back to me. I draw another Veiler. So here I can just like attack. He's going to activate the ki-sikil if I do attack, and then I'll just clear both his monsters, and then I have a Veiler for if he has another card next turn. I choose not to do this. I decide to just go ahead and Desires, because I figure that anything playable will just win me the game here. So I draw Ash and Taya, which is not really what I wanted to see out of this hand. And I also banished quite a few cards, and we can get back to that later. But notable are 3 sudden shifts are now all gone. I think 2 Ashuna are gone. I think I go down to 2 Adhara post side, so those are gone. And he gets to trigger Frost here as well, so he gets to draw another card. And with this hand, the problem is I have no Worm and no Xiangjian in the graveyard. And normally the Tenyi, which is able to get itself in the grave, is kind of dead because I only have effect monsters in the field. So not the greatest for me. The play I do have is I can normal summon Ash and go into a Yazi. And so that's actually the line I end up doing. Because this will, even if the Yazi doesn't go off, this will put a Xiangjian in the grave for Taya. So this ends up being the move. I think I try to go back because I noticed a meme play that I can do. So the idea here is that if I can go Riser Dragon and dump a level 1 with Riser, Riser is going to be 6, and then I can synchro the Riser with the Taya for Chungying, the level 10 synchro. And then the level 10 is going to have over 5,000 attack, and the ki-sikil is going to be 0, and I can just attack for game on the ki-sikil. So it was a funny play, and I think it played under Nibiru, so I wanted to try to go for it. It turns out that all of my level 1s left in my deck are gone. So 2 Adharas are gone, and then a Veiler is banished, a second Veiler is in grave, and then the third Veiler is in the hand. So this was not possible, and I ended up going back to just do the Yazi play. So a little bit of a shame that didn't work out, but go for Yazi. I got to draw from Moye, and then now the Moye is in the grave, so the Taya is live. I go straight for Chixiao, and then I can't search Sudden Shift, so I think I end up just not searching with Chixiao. And my deck is so small at this point that I don't even think the Yazi float is beneficial for me, so I just go to battle phase and I attack him. I clear both his monsters, and I end up with the Chixiao negate on field and then the effect Veiler in hand, and I'm pretty confident that even if he has like a good draw, that it's not going to be enough to win him the game. So he draws Veiler and then he forfeits, and that is going to be game 2. So yeah, definitely a lot more boring compared to the first game, but a lot of games are going to look like that as well. So really showing both extremes of kind of the gameplay here. So moving on to the all-important game 3. So Hafiz is going first here. He opens 3 different twins, the Tenki and Nibiru. So kind of similar to his game 2 hand, not the best. You want more hand traps in this if you're playing twins. And then my hand is Adhara, Ashuna, Ecclesia, Nibiru, and Taya. So this is pretty decent. I'm not positive how I feel about Nibiru in this deck yet, because there are scenarios where you'll nib them and then you'll have the same number of monsters, and then it turns off your Tenyis and you can't really Ecclesia, and you'll see that come up this game. It's a little awkward, I think. So he goes 2 twins. I'm going to fast forward through the twin combo because it's pretty standard. He gets a draw here. He draws the level 8, so really bad draw. And then I nib here. The reason you nib here versus twin is because otherwise they'll just summon the Link 4, and then you put the Link 4 in grave, which becomes removable for them, and the token will have bigger stats as well. So here I nib. I give him a 2200 0 token. And then I think he just passes, because all these extenders require you to control a twin, and so with just a nib token you can't do anything. So he passes here. My draw for turn is Desires, which is pretty good. And this is one of those situations where, like, you know, there's one monster in his field, one monster in my field, and so all 3 of these cards are dead. And so I kind of don't know how I feel about Nib in this deck, and I'm going to have to test this a little more, because I do like Nib against Twin, but I don't know. The situations like these are a little awkward. So I Desires here. Let's take a look at my banishes. I think pretty good. I don't think I banished anything crucial this game. So I draw into another Ashuna and Sudden Shift. So the Sudden Shift is great to have because I feel very safe with this. And I know that because he didn't set anything, I feel like his hand is a lot of hand traps at this point, and so I'm going to play as if he does have a lot of hand traps. So I can start with either the Ecclesia or the Taya here, but the Taya isn't live because there's no worms in the graveyard. So I'm kind of forced to start Ecclesia. And because he didn't Ash Desires, I feel pretty safe that he doesn't have Ash. So I'm going to Ecclesia here. I could have gone into battle phase as well and attacked the token with Ecclesia and then poked for 3k and then tagged out with Ecclesia in the battle phase for Moye. I didn't do that because it plays into Gamma on the Ecclesia and I need a starter. So I was kind of predicting he had a lot of hand traps. The starter will get hit by Valor no matter what, and so there's kind of no reason to play into both Gamma and Imperm when I can play around it. So I go for Moye here. I reveal, I think, a Taya. I get a token. He has no response here, so that's great for me. And then I go Moye token into Chixiao. Chixiao 1, Moye 2. I draw a Vessel, and I add a Longyuan. So I could extend here, but I'm predicting like a Nibiru. So this was 4 summons, I believe. It was Ecclesia, Moye, token, Chixiao. So I just decided to go battle phase. And I poke for 3k, and then I set Sudden Shift, and I pass. So he ended up having the nib, and so I'm pretty happy that I went with this route. He draws Desires for turn. So we're going to start with the Trouble Sun for Frost, and then he's going to Desires as well. So that's 10, and then draws another Desires and a Forbidden Chalice. So the second Desires isn't great, but the Chalice is decent. It will shut off his Chixiao. And he's going to start... I asked to read Frost here, so not a special summon or anything. So he needed a... he needs lil-la to be able to summon Frost. And he normal summons lil-la, and because of the fact that I know he searched Frost off the Trouble Sun, I choose not to Chixiao the lil-la, and I want to save it for the Link instead. Because if I negate this, he can just special summon the Frost, and then that's not great for me. In retrospect, it may have still been correct to just negate this, and then once he summons the Extender, I can Sudden Shift both of them. But I ended up not doing it. So he summons ki-sikil, and now both of his Extenders in hand are live. He summons out both Treat and Frost, and this is a problem for me, because he is going to be able to just summon big links, and my negations will be a little problematic. He's even going to go ahead and just activate Chalice here, so that this is turned off. There's no point in me negating any of these, and I don't particularly want Moye banished right now, so I don't chain Chixiao at all. He's going to go into... I actually forget what he goes into here. He goes into ki-sikil first, and I'm waiting for an opportunity to use sudden shift here. He goes straight into Trouble Sunny, and this is the problem for me now, because I should have potentially sudden shifted earlier. Now this threatens the Chixiao by battle, and this can also dodge my sudden shift. So he goes battle phase, and I have to decide whether I'm going to allow him to kill the Chixiao, and then use lil-la to pop the now dead sudden shift, or if I want to activate sudden shift, which I end up doing, and force out the Trouble Sunny tag out. And the reason I do the sudden shift here is because when he summons back the 2 links, he is going to get rid of this Nibiru to poke for damage, and I want my monsters gone so my Tenyis can start doing stuff. So I end up doing this here. I target his 2 cards, and he chains to tag out the Trouble Sunny, so my Chixiao will die, his continuous spell will die, and then lil-la will pop the Nibiru, and he'll get a draw off ki-sikil. Draws a 3rd Desires, so really not good draws for him. I take 22 here. But now my field was clear for my Tenyis, so that was the objective. If I had held the sudden shift, he would have been able to pop the sudden shift with the lil-la, and I wouldn't have taken damage. But I would have had the Nibiru, and the Nibiru was actually not super helpful for me. So that was the read, at least in my part. I think it was probably the right way to go, but there may have been another line. He passes on Trouble Sunny again here. And now I have to deal with Trouble Sunny and whatever he has in hand. I draw a Moye for turn, which is pretty solid. And I end up doing a similar play as game 1, where I try to use Long Yuan offensively to force disrupts, because in TCG, like I've said many times before, we don't have Baroness, and so I can't end my combos with Long Yuan and then pass on Baroness. So because my level 10s aren't valuable disruption, I'm trying out a strategy where I kind of try to use them to force out disruption instead. So I go at Hara, and then summon out Long Yuan, pitching my Ashuna, and this is a very solid combo, because again, now I threaten Yazi, and I threaten the level 10 Synchro Xiangjian. Additionally, the Ashuna is also alive. So he feels forced to Trouble Sun here. He's going to get both ki-sikil and lil-la, getting rid of my Long Yuan, and draws another Nibiru. So now his only interaction is this Nibiru. And I'm perfectly fine with this. I end up using Ashuna here to get a Vishuddha from deck, and then I go into Bashia. And I believe I choose to only spin back 1 card. He doesn't have a Link lil-la in the grave, so I choose to only spin back the Link lil-la. We clear this up here, because I want to play around Gamma. I can kill him if he has Gamma by just leaving this up on field, and then I can remove it at the end of my turn. So I choose to only spin back 1 card. And I set a card here, and I'm going to try to use Bashia to pop my set card and bring back Adhara, because this vessel is not really necessary for me anymore. I've already kind of got all my Tenyis in grave. So I bring back Adhara, and now he has to nib, because if he doesn't nib, I make a Light Shao Feng. So nib is dropped. This is a pretty big nib. And I have a normal summoned, so that's excellent for me. I normal summon my... I spent a lot of time looking at stuff. So I go Ashuna first because I have a normal monster. I go Adhara to add back an Ashuna as hand fodder. And then I normal summon Taya. I banish Sudden Shift, again to play around cards like Veiler. I get 2 tokens off of this, and then I mark which one is the Nibiru token. Now I go into Bashia. Again, I don't spin here to play around Gamma. The Taya dumps the Moye, and then I pop the Nibiru token to bring back the Moye. Moye reveals a card, and I go into Chixiao. And then I get both Chixiao and Moye here, as usual, the standard bread and butter combo. And then I activate Vishuddha in my graveyard to bounce back Nib, and that is game. So yeah, that is an exhibition of what this deck looks like, and some of the plays it can do. Especially the Tenyi version. I was very happy with kind of how this replay showcased the strength of the Tenyi build going second, and going into established boards. I'm curious about whether, the deck will do better with these cards than regular hand traps, because if you look at a game like game 1, for example, I opened 3 Tenyi cards. Those could have been 3 hand traps, and maybe the game goes much more smoothly for me, right? Maybe I just stop all of his twin stuff, and then I get a Chixiao on the board and I win. So you have to consider stuff like this when you're testing. What if these cards I'm testing were other cards I could have been playing, and then decide which one is better in those scenarios. But yeah, this video was more to showcase, what this deck can do and what this deck is designed to do against another cool deck. And I think it also did a good job showing what the twin deck tries to do and kind of the twin deck's win con and their strengths and weaknesses. So that's going to be it. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave any feedback in the comments. If you have any other decks you want to see this deck played against, so any new decks especially, let me know in the comments what you want to see. Yeah, until then, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for potentially more content depending on how many good matches I get. Yeah, peace.